Oh, what did you say? So the only other name I pulled up that looked even remotely familiar was Gasgano. It was the spindly four-armed one.
You please stop looking these up because I'm going to have to put them on the screen. Welcome back! Oh, my mic. Oh, don't mind me. Sorry about...
Wait! No, I will not leave here. We're still collecting Monokumas.
By the way, we're still collecting Monokumas. Sorry about my mic.
I knew you could do it.
All right.
What a bunch of useless coins.
Well, that's good to know that we're still collecting Monokumas, because I was totally prepared to not.
So that's 1. 4 more to go, and we actually have all of them.
What are we doing upstairs?
Weird, right?
Huh? That's weird. It's the hallway I walked through to get to the gymnasium, but it's clearly different and glitchy. Is this Monokuma's doing too? Is he trying to confuse us again?
Trying?
I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it over and over again. He's so persistent.
Like Kazuichi.
But I'm not going to fall for his trap. There's no way this will make me back down. Can't even decide on what Bon Jovi, Okay. This hallway, there's a strange feeling to it, no? As if an invisible wall has been erected to limit our movements.
Sonya, you've been smoking the plant bullet behind you?
Is it just me?
What floor was this?
5th.
Wow. All the way up there already.
Yeah. So that.
No, we're gonna dungeon crawl it.
Yep. So down here. Oh, yep. That was
where
the.
we should go into.
That was the dead room, and that's the. Okay, that was the hallway to the bio. This is the hallway to the bio lab.
Yeah.
The bio morgue.
Biomorg.
Where
Raw.
I guess we can't go. Is there something written on there?
Raw, which I believe was written on there.
Right.
Yeah.
Raw is war.
Dungeon crawl, dungeon crawl.
I don't know for what it's worth. You want to check on the
Pet?
check on the pet.
Oh, good point.
I mean, it's really hard to tell how many steps we've taken, but
Maybe Usami doesn't poop.
giant plant room. And the dojo.
Oh, hello! You can go into the dojo.
Hello, Dojo.
Ah. Is this a very pink dojo? Those strange things that make me think there's no way we're inside a school. That's true. Perhaps it's a mistake to expect the inside of this building to make sense.
Fair enough.
Cool.
Put on the armor, Hajime. Be cool.
It's armor and a helmet.
Where is
The map
where
developers designed this to reflect a Japanese dojo.
From that far-off land of Japan?
This cherry tree is in full bloom. Maybe a tasteful sight to see a blooming cherry tree inside a dojo.
I mean, it is.
But in this situation, it just looks bizarre.
When you're not wrong, you're not wrong.
That target seems pretty far away.
Just because you're a loser.
If the production team had had more time, there could have been a mini-game here.
Hajime, relax.
Wait, what am I saying? There's a straw post. I guess that means it was used for training. A bunch of wooden lockers here. Let's open them all!
Yay.
Each has a traditional-looking wood block key sticking out of them. I guess they're just for show. Or we can open them and find out. Nothing in particular that looks like a clue from the
I don't know.
outside.
Never be too sure.
What is that? Kiki's delivery service? It's a manga. The title is Manga for Morons, A History of Hope's Peak Academy by Monokuma. Why is a manga with such a suspicious-looking title laying out in the open like this?
That's fair. Let's start with history class first.
Class first.
First class. Reading manga is the third best way to learn about history. Then, what's the first you ask?
To live it.
That depends on the person. Like,
I mean, to be fair, whether you're a visual learner or an auditory learner.
So just as I thought, Monokuma made this. That totally explains how suspicious it looks.
Or if you're, not sufficiently cold tolerant to be a reenactor.
I really want to just ignore it. But there's no way I can do that. Fine, I'll look at it. I'll look at anything that might be a clue to getting out of here, no matter what it is.
what if
Oh, look,
was
Hifumi wrote it.
Oh. Ah!
I picked up the manga off the floor and started flipping through the pages. It's an introduction to Hope's Peak Academy's history, as narrated by the cutesy character on the cover. The story begins with an introduction to Hope's Peak Academy.
Hope's Peak Academy is
Very good.
a government-funded school of privilege where only the most talented high school students can hope to attend. Built to raise hope in the nation's future, many of its alumni are key leaders of various industries. New students are chosen through a scouting process, but the ones who scout them are Hope's Peak Academy's teachers, who serve as both educators and researchers of talent.
That are so corrupt.
Oh, so correct.
Very corrupt.
Hope's Peak Academy isn't just a school for talent, it is also a school for researching talent as well.
That little mascot represents corruption.
Yes. Where is it touching the corruption?
However, for the past few years, Hope's Peak Academy has been suffering from a decline in funding. If this persists, the Academy believes they will not be able to make progress with the research of talent. So they decided to implement a new system. The Reserve Department. Unlike the main department who scouts for students, the Reserve Department utilizes a general entrance exam. Normal faculty was hired and placed in charge of looking after the Reserve Department. The expenses and exam fees for the Reserve Department are quite high compared to most high schools. Nevertheless, Hope's Peak Academy received an endless stream of applicants willing to overpay, for Hope's Peak Academy was now available to talentless commoners, people who only cared about the brand. With this, Hope's Peak Academy managed to amass sizable funds and began further research of talent. To create Hope's Peak Academy's earnest wish, a true genius who would become mankind's hope. But just when they thought everything was going well, an unprecedented incident occurred.
La Nina.
La Nina. The incident that triggered the tragedy, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history.
Worse than the Holocaust and the Trail of Tears.
And Adam Sandler movies. Combined!
That's right, it was the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Hope's Peak Academy was crippled by this incident and was forced to shut down without accomplishing anything. The end.
Abrupt. Alright.
What?
At least Monokuma knows how to end a book, George R. R. Martin.
Hey, no, it's not. He's taking his time. He's taking his time. It's not his fault what happened to the show. The ending was so sudden, like a manga that's suddenly canceled in the middle of its run. Plus those phrases mentioned at the end of this manga. The tragedy and the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. These names are so melodramatic. There's no way these incidents really happened, right? This manga only mentions the name, so I don't really know the details, but... Nah, it'd just be a waste of time to wonder about things that don't make sense. More importantly, I learned something because of this manga.
I can read!
The Reserve Department. That department was only built to collect money. I was one of those Reserve Course students, right?
But hold on.
That's weird.
Oh, you're here again.
The thing that's weird is you, of course.
Huh?
Hey!
Why did you forget that you were part of the Reserve Department? The Future Foundation only took away your school life memories, right? But you should have known even before you entered that you had no talent, right? So I think it's weird that you actually forgot something like that, too.
What do you want me to say?
By the way,
Based on my assumption, the Future Foundation must have wanted to hide the fact that you were one of those Reserve Course students.
I got it!
Oh, you willingly sealed those memories yourself.
Huh?
You wanted to be confident in yourself, so you wanted to forget everything that embarrassed you.
So what if he is the ultimate repressive?
Ooh.
You know, when humans experience trauma, sometimes they erase their memory of what happened. It happens pretty often. Not that I'd know anything about that, though.
Are you saying it's my fault I forgot? That's not it.
Gosh, sorry, my mic. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. When things get inconvenient, you always get angry and try to brush it off. Well, that's what I expect of a reserve corps student.
That's not at all what I do. Damn it! What the heck?
What the heck?
Truth bullets!
You alright, John?
Yeah, ooh. Reserve department has been added to the truth bullet section of your handbook.
So that happened.
Yay! Thanks, Sakura! Or whatever. Oop. Okay. Alright.
I'm dungeon crawling.
Yeah, that's actually the whole... Well, if I think...
The clock doesn't have any hands. What time is it right now? We can't see outside, so I don't even know if it's day or night right now. See, Monica,
A violin. I could go for a violin right now.
This is another manga. It's laying on top of the desk. This one is Manga for Morons, the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. The Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy mentioned that other manga too, and that other game, and we've been wondering about it for over a year. But Hope's Peak Academy went bankrupt, and it was the trigger for the biggest, most tragic, most awful event in human history.
Was this the room? Was it a 5th floor room? It was a 5th floor room, but it wasn't this one. Are you sure? Yeah, no, because it was the one over by the... I'm pretty sure it was the one down the hall before you turn left to the bio lab. I'm pretty sure. Alright.
If I read this manga, will I be able to learn a little more about that incident? I took the manga from the desk and started flipping through the pages to see what I could learn about the event known as the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Dory made heavy use of outdated, stylized drawings depicting characters solving mysteries. What's written here is...
Alright, I'm not doing this again. As the name suggests, the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy occurred at Hope's Peak Academy. The key player in that event was a student named Izuru Kamakura.
Wait a minute.
Yes, a student named Izuru Kamakura.
You know that name.
Izuru Kamakura was a genius known as a symbol of hope. Hope's Peak Academy used all their resources to develop him. Supposedly, Izuru was a genius among geniuses and possessed various talents. Wielding superior talent for the hope of mankind, the Academy referred to Izuru as the Ultimate Hope. To protect such rare talent, the Academy completely concealed all evidence of Izuru's origins and identity. Because of that, most of the students at the Academy were completely unaware of Izuru's existence.
Aside from on the funhouse where they hung pictures on the wall.
Gotta have some pictures. But Izuru, who was known as the symbol of hope, was responsible for a horrible incident. 13 students of Hope's Peak Academy's student council, among the Academy's best and brightest, were brutally murdered by Izuru. However, the incident did not end there. The Academy tried to protect Izuru's superior talent and conceal the incident as though it never happened.
That always goes great.
However, a certain student began working in secret to use that incident to their advantage. That student uncovered what the Academy did, and by making that knowledge public, it stoked the fires of Reserve Corps students who had long been dissatisfied with how they'd been treated.
Power to the proletariat!
Yay! And the uprising began.
Finally!
They overthrew the bourgeoisie of... which heralded Hope's Peak Academy's destruction. This is the entirety of the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Now on to Carol with the weather.
Oh, Carol. I hope it's sunny.
Eventually, that incident would lead to that horrifying, devastating incident. The incident that would be known as the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. Works cited, Danganronpa 0.
Which I believe is a short story.
Uh-huh. With a heavy sigh, I closed the manga. Am I supposed to believe this? There's no way 13 people were killed at Hope's Peak Academy.
What irony! For a genius known as the ultimate hope to cause such a gruesome incident, a talent like that is too regal for society. It's like trying to buy juice with a gold bar. You should be lucky that you're incompetent.
Oh, wait, incompetent? You want to see what recall what the reserve students did here?
No. Wait.
Damn it, he always has to lead up to something offensive. He seriously pisses me off. I'm gonna get a guillotine. But ultimate hope. Nagito mentioned that before too, but it looks like it means something completely different here. What Nagito said was the true meaning of hope, but for Izuru, hope simply means talent. More importantly, genius possesses various talents. Should have given me one of those talents so I didn't have to be in the reserve department, even though the reserve department wins in the end. That's right, the reserve department! Here it said the reserve corps students in the reserve department began uprising. Then what about me? Was I a participant too, or was this a very long time ago? No, that's not possible. There's no way. I have no reason to do something like that.
Truth bullets!
Tragedy of Hope's Peak has been added to the Truth Bullet section of your handbook.
All of our bullets are going to be manga.
Anyway, I've learned about the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy, but the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history is a far worse incident, right?
Right?
Worse than the Holocaust, and the Trail of Tears, and every Adam Sandler movie combined. What kind of incident was it? And who's this other student that isn't Izuru? A certain student who secretly used the incident to their advantage. Who is that? Huh. This incident is really messed up, but all it's doing is raising more questions. Mysteries just keep piling up.
Like a pile, like a garbage pile. You know, like when you've got like a garbage chute, and it falls down and makes like a pile of garbage in the garbage room. The pile at the end of the garbage chute room.
Oh!
Come on, guys.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't. I was definitely not following that at all.
What, from Star Wars? No, from the first game. Oh yeah.
Bio.
See, the reason I ask is because that story was what happened in the big bloody room in the first game.
Okay.
Like, that's where the student council all got murdered.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, I
okay.
figured that was what you were thinking. I just didn't. What the hell is with this room? It's freaking cold in here.
And there's barely any bodies.
It's just like I'm in a freezer or something. If I just stand still, I might end up freezing to death. Should hurry up and investigate so I can get out of here already. Are there bodies?
Oh, look. You see it?
I see it. I'm looking for bodies.
Okay, sure.
I've seen this in movies before. It's a refrigerator for preserving dead bodies. At least that's what it looks like, but that's not possible, right?
Right?
Keeping dead bodies in a high school biolab isn't something you should joke about.
Right, Celeste?
This feels so forced. This idea should have been canceled during development or something. Am I breaking the fourth wall again?
Hiding under there.
Tarps!
I've been found.
Arbs.
Hello, precious tarps! TarpCon 2020.
The greatest tragedy that is TarpCon 2020.
This looks like a plastic tarp.
Tarp!
Why is it left out like this? Clean up after yourselves, will you?
How dare you leave precious tarps out? Well, and in such a cold room, they'll get all, they'll get all rigid. They could crack. They could crack.
It's terrible tarp care. There's another manga just lying here. This time the title is Manga for Morons, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history.
This could be about anything.
I knew it. The next one would obviously be about this incident. Biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history, huh? Just what was that incident really all about? It might turn out to be something lame. I flipped through the pages of the manga, hoping that I was right. story about creepily drawn characters who get involved in such horrifying incidents. An incident known as the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. It's drawn so grotesquely because the incident itself is that grotesque? Anyway, the beginning of this creepy manga starts with this sentence.
I mean, it's him saying it's insane.
The tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy was simply the trigger.
At first, the uprising by the Reserve Corps students that triggered the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy was initially hoped to be resolved quickly, but the situation continued to escalate to dangerous extremes.
I worry you're wasting this character voice
Oh,
on green
yes.
text.
The movement started spreading all over the internet and fostered a thriving online community. The community was not limited to students, and people of various races and nations began joining in. But the movement was not confined to the internet and began spreading and eroding the real world. When the movement started, it was indistinguishable from any other demonstration inspired by social unrest. But as it spread across the world, certain abnormalities soon came to light. By then, it was too late. The ends and the means had vanished, and wanton destruction became their only goal. The strong butchered the weak killed the weakest among them, and soon the weak formed factions to brutally murder the strong. As the violence and death continued to spread, the shock of their actions began to disappear, as if the era was regressing to more uncivilized times, when senseless deaths were the norm. The media was oversaturated with deaths, to the point where people would watch them while enjoying a meal. By the time the world realized what it had become, it was too late to stop what had happened. A feeling of immense despair began spreading and eventually engulfed the world. Acts of terrorism and coups d'etats began occurring around the world, a war waged in the name of despair. A war fought not for principles, religion, or personal gain. Just war. Pure war. And because of that, there was no way to resolve it. How could a movement started by high school students progress to such a hopeless scenario? The only explanation is the existence of a certain organization devoted to a certain student who influenced Hope's Peak Academy. A group called Ultimate Despair. Instead of using Hope's Peak Academy's talents for the sake of mankind's hope, they used them for the sake of mankind's despair. Key members of society used their influence to brainwash the masses in order to spread despair. Tech-savvy computer programmers wrote software to spread despair. The powerful and influential created new values and morals to spread despair. And with this, they created the tragedy, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. As long as the ultimate despair exists, the despair engulfing the world will never end. The tragedy will never end.
Oh, it's genuinely creepy, John. I don't want you to ever do that again.
My heart was racing in my chest. My body felt ice cold. And it wasn't because I was freezing in this room. Biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. This is definitely all made up.
Yeah,
I mean, if this is really true, then what's happening in the outside world? Ha ha ha! My family, my friends, the convenience store I frequent, my bookstore, my favorite restaurants. What's happened to them?
Mainly the convenience store.
Hey, are you seriously yelling at a manga? How crazy are you?
Who would enjoy reading something like this?
Oh my! Don't like manga? A high school student who doesn't like manga is like an office lady who doesn't like to eat candy.
Enough. What is this messed up manga?
I thought you'd obviously know about such a horrible event that destroyed the world, but for you not to remember that, such despair. That's the Future Death Foundation's fault, though. Thanks to them stealing your school memories. The incident that happened during that period has been completely removed from your brains.
This incident really happened, and I actually forgot about it. There's no way that's possible.
What are you
And I
saying?
just don't have to tell you, all the clues here are real. Please understand I'm rooting for you. If you don't learn about the full extent of the outside world, you guys will suffer for it. I just want to help you guys so you can live well-adjusted lives in the outside world.
Yeah. I see. So that's how it is. That's what he meant by what he said at the beginning.
Well, as headmaster, I'm conflicted, you know. On the one hand, I'm really happy that you're finally going to graduate. But on the other hand, I'm worried about whether you guys will be okay in the outside world. That's why I'm thinking about telling you what's outside the world is like before you make a decision. Whether you want to leave Jabberwock Island or stay here.
He's trying to make us feel despair towards the outside world, so we'll want to stay on this island. But there's no way I'm going to do what he wants. Despair like that simply can't exist. The outside world should be filled with hope. Just like now. Perhaps... No, that's definitely it.
Yeah, truth bullets!
The tragedy has been added to the truth bullet section of your handbook.
Whether or not this incident really happened, what in the world is this ultimate despair group? If they're devoted to a certain student who guided Hope's Peak Academy to its destruction, I bet that student's not me. That would be weird. Are they connected to both the tragedy and the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy?
Could you have not named those slightly different?
Plus, that organization isn't just one person, but a group of people. Maybe it translates differently?
That's probably exactly what it is.
But if they're known as Ultimate Despair, they're high school students, right? Well, if they were actually able to do it, then I guess that's why they were called Ultimates. Then, are the killings we're involved in connected to them as well? It's no use, I'm gonna freeze to death. I'm at my limit, I need to get out of here. Shivering, I ran out of the freezing room.
Lit a match and dropped it behind me.
Phew, that was close, I nearly froze to death. So where should I go next?
Alright, let's go see.
Glitch a little more. Glitch.
You know, I'm willing to bet there's no way they have a giant man-eating plant in this school. How crazy would that be? No, I guess they don't have a giant man-eating plant in this school.
Just gonna kind of keep skipping Kazuichi, huh?
Where was he?
Right behind you.
And... then-
Oh no!
Oh, yeah, now he's gone. So now 5B, I believe you can do. Because 5A you did.
Yep, I did, but, you know, you gotta dungeon crawl properly.
That's dedication right there.
But if there's like a block in the middle that's cut away from... whatever.
Nope, I should ignore it. I'm just gonna pretend I didn't see him. Okay.
Just talk to Fuyuhiko, I guess. Jeez. When I went inside this room, that bastard bear was suddenly here. Just glancing at me.
I wonder why.
It wasn't so weird until he started winking.
Wink.
It's gonna be shitty either way.
Damn right.
So, I'll let you handle it. There's no way I'm gonna deal with that idiot.
I don't want to do it either.
Wink.
Hiya.
Well, hello, Hajime. I hope you're doing pleasingly well.
We spoke to each other like 20 seconds
I
ago.
don't remember. Are you pleasingly well? You're pleasingly well, right?
What are you doing here?
No.
Well, there was another thing I need to tell you on this floor. Teehee. I got bored of drawing manga. Can Can you forgive me for telling you by word of mouth?
I can.
You should have done that from the beginning. I didn't want to read your manga in the first place.
But I'm gonna make John read this in my voice. No, I'm just kidding. High school student doesn't like manga. That's like a sumo wrestler who doesn't like eating hot pots.
Okay. I'm getting really fed up with your babbling. Hurry up, what did you need to tell me?
Lots. It's about that key piece of information you've been waiting so long for.
His locker combination?
Surprise! It's about Ultimate Despair. Ultimate Despair.
Huh?
Even though the term Ultimate Despair refers to a group these days,
Actually,
it was originally a title for a high school girl who was the most powerful, evil, and feared person alive.
High school girl.
yes, indeed.
Lady Junko Enoshima.
Yeah. Junko Enoshima.
Hey,
That's her name, don't wear it out.
As the former Ultimate Despair, she created a despair brimming with charm and humor. And created the Ultimate Despairs. There was one really horrible person in that group.
don't fuck with me.
Hold on a second. I don't know what the Ultimate Despairs are, but it's not that easy to form an organization.
He knows.
Trust me, I know. There's no way people would join some fucked up organization created by high school. Yeah, never mind.
Humans who are obsessed with their philosophy have an uncanny power to attract others. It's a trait shared by many famous leaders throughout history, right? There's nothing strange about it.
Hey,
That holds true for Lady Junko. With her charismatic ability to attract people, she even influenced those in the highest echelons of power. Her connections were the main reason the incident became a tragedy in the first place.
So she even recruited people who would have been in a position to neutralize the threat?
Then what was their purpose?
What?
Like I said, why did they cause the incident? Doesn't even make sense. They had a purpose, right? There's no way they'd do that, what they did, without any purpose.
hey,
It was Junko Enoshima's despair.
Huh?
For Junko Enoshima, despair isn't about purpose, a set of principles, a way of life, or an instinct. Despair is what defines Junko Enoshima as Junko Enoshima.
What are you saying?
Oh, stuff plushie. Hajime is a human. It's exactly like that. Junko Enoshima is so full of despair that she's truly hopeless. Lying, dying, eating, loving, for her, everything is despair.
So, high school girl.
Uh,
What the hell?
With her overwhelming force of personality, Junko recruited the ultimate despairs one by one. She controlled their despair by taking advantage of their love, hate, grudges, anything really. Junko's despair is far more dreadful than any others. That idea had been slammed right into their minds. Whoopoo! And so, the ultimate despairs, who had been recruited, became nothing more than Junko's limbs.
You.
Yeah. All despair, whether it was their own or anyone else's, was dedicated to Junko Enoshima's. Like believers making offerings to their gods.
Meat gun.
Like a mother providing food to her children. They dedicated all despair so they could escape from despair. All in Junko Enoshima's name. For example, they killed their families and friends, and even destroyed their bodies through relentless mutilation.
Meat gun.
And to hopelessly top it off, they completely believed it was something that they had to do.
There's no way something that crazy is possible. Oh, meat gun. Oh.
Do you know about the final days of the reserve corps students during the tragedy of Hope Speak Academy?
No, I don't, and you know that. Final
in
days.
other words,
Junko had the power to change people's values. This is also true of famous people throughout history.
Hey, what do you mean final days? What happened to the reserve departments?
of course.
They fulfilled their role as disposable limbs. They believed in what they needed to do. And so, the 2,357 students of the reserve department all committed mass suicide.
Okay, yeah, that is pretty bad. I wouldn't put it
Yeah.
as the most awful, most tragic event in human history, but it's
No, that's
pretty
just,
bad.
I mean, that's just the tragedy. That's not
Oh,
the
that is-
most awful, most tragic
Oh.
event.
Yeah.
mass suicide.
What'd you say?
All 2,357 students?
I'm sorry, no, that's the tragedy of Hope Speak Academy, whereas the tragedy is the most awful, most
Oh,
et cetera,
okay.
et cetera.
Right, right.
Yep.
Oops, Yes, it wasn't all of them. One person was excluded.
Yo! One person was excluded.
I
Huh?
bet you can figure this one out.
Is that me?
I don't believe it. There's no way I can believe this. Ultimate Despair, Junko Enoshima. It doesn't scare me at all. I mean,
Bastard.
Junko Enoshima's already dead.
What? Huh?
Truth bullets!
Ultimate Despair has been added to the Truth Bullet section of your handbook.
Truth bullets!
Reserve Department has been added in your handbook. Check the Truth Bullets menu to review it.
And we'll talk to Fuyuhiko.
On the next episode.
Can you do it in your creepy voice?
On the next episode.